Hi, everyone. Welcome back. We are talking about preventative services. So, what we do to make sure there are no issues later on, right? What can we invest now to ensure everybody has a positive socialization and interaction? The first thing I want to talk to you about are parks. Parks have been around for a very long time. Just to give you a sense of the history, they were around when the Greeks and Romans were around. And then around 1660, the first public park in America was introduced. And then in 1853 is when Central Park was established. And this really came as a need to meet the urbanization and the fact that everything was so concrete and there wasn't any way to get into green spaces and socialize and have that community. So they established Central Park to meet that need. About 1890 to 1900, there was this real public push to have more parks and recreation. There was an understanding that getting in green spaces, socializing, having community was really valuable and important. And out of that came 1906 Playground and Recreation Association of America. From there, we got the National Recreation Association in 1930. And then finally, what we have today is the National Recreation and Park Association, which was established in 1965. So you can see that parks have a very long history. Communities have valued them for a very long time. And we've seen this kind of transformation of how they've been utilized and how they've been supported and advocated for. With that in mind, I want to share with you something from the National Recreation and Parks Association website. This is their 7 dimensions of well-being. A lot of times when we think about parks, we think about them from a physical development perspective. This idea that we take our kids to the park so they can get some energy out, so they can climb, so they can run. But they approach it from a much different lens. They're really trying to meet 7 different dimensions when they think about their work. The first being cultural. So if you go to a park, they want to feel like they have cultural representation of that community and there's a connection to the location. Think about that place value again. They also recognize that parks can have an economic need. So having jobs to fill to increase property value and having a better value in the community, having connections to services, all of those pieces support economic value as well. They want to make sure you're supported in your emotional area. So parks can have a mindfulness program. They want to make sure that those green spaces are giving you breaks from being in urbanized spaces and that they can have well-being that's built more than just off of physical, but also in the emotional realm. There's also environmental that they're trying to go. There's a goal for them to make sure that they have access to green spaces. It's environmentally friendly. There's not putting extra pollutants in the air. The next was an intellectual, making sure that they have high quality programming, high quality equipment. You're being challenged not only physically, but also intellectually. And then, of course, we have physical, so providing spaces that gets you out, gets you active. And the last one is a social. They want to make sure that the spaces are welcoming and that you feel included, that you feel represented, that there's a sense of togetherness and a connection within the community. So again, thinking about parks from a lens of socialization, it's not really just about going out and getting active and getting your body moving. Parks are really about going out and getting the whole person kind of taken care of and socialized, making sure you feel represented, making sure that the community has economic support, making sure that you're getting your emotional support by getting access to a park. It's so much more than just getting your body moving when you're at a park. And that's what our children are getting out of accessing these kinds of third places. All right, let's talk about library services. These are something that definitely has changed over time. To give you some context around how libraries are actually managed and their goals, I want to start at the very top level of our country. So, what happens is we have what's called the Institute of Museum and Library Services, and this is a national agency. Their mission statement is the mission of IMLS is to advance, support, and empower Americans' museums, libraries, and related organizations through grant making, research, and policy development. So they're really overseeing the whole idea of what museums and libraries should be. That's that macro system, right? This is our goal. This is what we're setting out to do. From the macro system, we go down to the next level, and we're starting to look at the state level. So still pretty macro, but on a level below, we have what's called the California State Library that oversees all of our public libraries. This is their mission statement. The California State Library empowers the people of the nation's most diverse and populous state by doing these things, providing credible information services to all Californians. And then they have a list, especially those in state government and in legislature, libraries, academia, and persons with disabilities, leading and establishing partnerships with California libraries through funding, program development, and support, and preserving and providing access to California's unique history to enrich the lives of current and future generations. So really getting a sense of the purpose of a library being around information from their perspective. This idea that they want to give information to everybody that's equitable. They really want to focus on certain groups, and they want to make sure that it transcends generations. When we move on, because remember, we started national, state, now we can look at the local level and how that socialization works. I wanted to take you to their actual website. This is the Sacramento Public Library website. I'm going to click on it. I'm choosing the Sacramento Public Library because it is a kind of oversees it oversees Folsom's website because it's a branch off of Sacramento. So it's the closest thing we have locally to our communities. Taking a look at About Us, let's just click on the mission statement real fast. So looking at how those mission statements kind of trickle down to ensure that to provide our children with some kind of structure for socialization, I should say. The vision for the public library is the go-to resource connecting our thriving communities. Everyone is respected, welcome, and represented. So really understanding that they want to provide an equitable framework for everybody to access information. Again, they reiterate that in their mission statement, to support diverse communities' aspirations to learn, connect, and grow. So thinking about socialization beyond just learning in a library, they're thinking about connecting, right? This idea of creating a community where you can come together and socialize. I just wanted to show you that they have a pretty robust equity statement. So really thinking about that from a socialization point of view of making sure all of our children feel included, all cultures are represented, all races feel welcomed, and they're trying to support all of those pieces in learning and connecting together to create a community. So, and also recognizing that they have to listen to the community in order to do that. So continue to connect, continue to listen, understand, learn, and unlearn. I think that's an important one sometimes that we forget about. They also say encourage, process, and respond to feedback from community and staff to stimulate reflection, change, and growth. So really looking at libraries as a relationship where they give and take, but overall kind of taking from this website that they are really trying to provide a third place for children to be connected and be part of the community and socialize, and also for the adults in those families to have that same benefit. All right, moving on. So the role of the libraries in the community really form two functions, right? We can see that just based on the mission statements that we see trickle down from the national level and also with the local library website. One obviously is information. We go to libraries because we want to access information. But the other piece that really highlights in both of those, in all the mission statements and in the website, is that there's a socialization piece. They recognize that they are bringing a community together. They're representing a community. So you're getting information and socialization and making sure that everybody has access to it. Those are both the roles. I want to take a minute to show you the services that you can get at a library. It's not moves right beyond books, right? There's so much more. It's a space to socialize. You gain access to a variety of materials. There's online access. There's research, books, and there's a free space to just be. You could just sit there, right? There's also a lot of knowledge to be gained. With that in mind, just to share with you, thinking about socialization, part of that is what we expose children to, what we provide them access to. And I wanted to bring that to light just because we are in the process in this country of thinking of censorship and how that impacts children and the books that may be trying to be banned. This is a website that if you're curious at all about what things might be banned or trying to be banned across the country in California, you can go to. It's www.ala.org. And then you can scroll down and it has all sorts of information about what states have the highest rates of requests for banning books and what states have the lowest. You can click on California and see that we have 17 books that have been attempted to be restricted or banned in our state. There's also a site in here where you can go, a page I should say, where you can go and actually see what children's books are attempted to be banned, just to get a perspective of where we are culturally, what we feel is acceptable for social norms. And those all, of course, play into the socialization of children, right? If we value certain things or we don't value certain things, that's going to be represented in what we choose to share with children. And so I think that's a good place to go around socialization. It's there for you if you want to look at it. If not, that's fine too. I'm going to stop right here. We're going to come back and talk about early childhood education. I will see you then.